Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a thought that might surprise you. Sometimes the loudest power you can hold is silence. Yes, silence, not noise, not shouting, not rushing, but silence. Most people think that to make things happen, you must always be talking, always be doing, always be out there pushing and pulling. But that's not how nature works. And I believe to be truly successful, you must start to align with nature. Look at the seed planted in the ground. It doesn't scream, it doesn't force its way through the soil. It waits, quietly, patiently, and yet, in time, it becomes a mighty tree. The same goes for your success. The same goes for your relationships. The same goes for your growth. You don't have to shout to be heard by the right people. You don't have to chase every opportunity. The right ones will recognize your value when you've cultivated it. Most people misunderstand the power of silence. They assume that being silent is a sign of weakness or lack of confidence. But in reality, silence can be one of the most powerful tools in your personal and professional life. When you stay silent, you hold your energy, you conserve your strength, you allow others to reveal themselves while you remain in control. In conversations, the one who speaks less often listens more, and the one who listens more learns more. Silence allows you to study people, situations, and timing. It keeps you grounded while others are emotionally reacting or over-explaining. When people rush to prove themselves, silence makes you appear more thoughtful, more composed, and more secure in who you are. You're not in a hurry to be understood because you understand yourself. That kind of presence is rare. The world is filled with noise, opinions, reactions, arguments. Everyone is trying to be louder, faster, and more visible. But sometimes, the one who stands back and observes gains the greatest advantage. People respect quiet strength. They notice the one who doesn't compete for attention, because that person often holds deeper confidence. Silence gives you time to think clearly, to respond wisely, and to act with purpose. In business, relationships, and personal growth, reacting less and observing more gives you an edge. When you resist the urge to speak just to fill the air, you give weight to your words when you do choose to speak. They listen when you finally talk, because your silence taught them to. It's not about hiding or withdrawing. It's about choosing when to show up with power. That kind of discipline, the strength to stay silent, often leads to outcomes that come naturally, without force or struggle. Nature has a way of teaching us the most profound lessons, if we're willing to observe. One of those lessons is that real growth doesn't make noise. A tree doesn't announce its roots digging deep into the earth. A flower doesn't shout when it blossoms. The process is silent, steady, and sure. In the same way, personal growth often happens in the background of your life, not in the spotlight. You may be reading, thinking, reflecting, learning, and evolving quietly while no one is watching. And that's exactly how lasting growth occurs, not through loud declarations, but through consistent effort done in silence. When you're not chasing applause or recognition, you have the freedom to focus deeply on what really matters. You begin to build character, discipline, clarity, and strength in private. These qualities, once developed, naturally begin to reflect in your public life. There's no need to prove anything or force results. Just like a seed becomes a tree in time, your silent efforts mature into visible success. People might not see the nights you stayed up learning, the times you chose discipline over comfort, or the moments you stayed quiet instead of reacting. But they will see the results those choices produced. And by the time they do, the roots you've planted are already strong. When you honor the natural rhythm of growth and trust the silence, you avoid the trap of impatience. You stop comparing your pace to others. You start walking your own path with peace. The work you do quietly today becomes the reason others admire you tomorrow. Let your growth be like nature's, silent, deep, and undeniable. That's when success starts to show up without you needing to chase it. That's when everything begins to come naturally. In a world where everyone is trying to be seen, those who quietly work on themselves often create the most lasting impact. There's a difference between saying you're going to do something and actually doing it. Many people talk about their plans, their goals, their big dreams, but their actions don't match their words. On the other hand, when you commit to action over explanation, you build real progress. You don't need to tell people who you are or what you're becoming. Let your results be the evidence. There's a quiet confidence in those who don't need to advertise their every move. They are not looking for validation. They are building value, and value always finds its place. When you focus on the work and not the recognition, success begins to chase you. You become someone others trust, someone others respect not because you demanded attention, but because you earned it through consistency and discipline. This principle applies everywhere. In your career, when you deliver quality over and over, people notice. In relationships, when you show loyalty through your actions, trust builds. In personal growth, when you follow through with what you promised yourself, confidence increases. The loudest voices aren't always the most reliable. But quiet, consistent action is hard to ignore. Eventually, people will ask, "How did you do it?" And the answer will be simple. You stayed focused on action, not noise. You stayed committed in silence, and your life began to speak for itself. When your actions are aligned with your values, and your energy is invested in building rather than boasting, everything you need starts coming to you. You don't need to chase it. You've already become the kind of person who attracts it. And it all began when you chose to let your actions speak louder than your words. One of the most overlooked truths about success is the power of patience. In today's world, where everything is instant and fast-paced, waiting can feel like weakness. But in reality, patience is one of the strongest and most intelligent traits you can develop. When you learn to be patient, you stop forcing things to happen on your timeline. You begin to trust that the right opportunities, the right people, and the right moments will arrive when you are ready, not when you are desperate. Most people rush into decisions, push too hard, or speak too soon. And in doing so, they often create more problems than progress. But when you choose to pause, breathe, and observe, you create space for better outcomes to unfold naturally. Life is a process, not an event. Everything meaningful takes time. Trust, skills, growth, and even healing. When you understand that, you stop living in anxiety and start living in alignment. You're not trying to control every outcome. You're doing your part and allowing time to do its part. Patience doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing the right things consistently and letting results take shape over time. Like a farmer planting seeds, you water the soil, you nurture the land, but you don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You trust the process. And when you trust the process, you stay calm while others panic, centered while others are scattered. That energy, that inner stillness, becomes your advantage. The less you force, the more space you give for life to bring you what's meant for you. Patience is the quiet faith that everything is unfolding as it should. And in that faith, in that calm waiting, you'll find that everything you've been working for starts arriving, naturally and right on time. There is a quiet power in the ability to listen. In a world full of noise, opinions, and constant chatter, few take the time to truly hear what's being said. But those who do, those who listen more and speak less, gain insight, understanding, and influence. When you choose silence over immediate response, you allow yourself to observe not just the words, but the emotions, intentions, and patterns behind them. You begin to notice what others miss. You see the gaps, the opportunities, the mistakes people make by reacting too quickly. Listening gives you time to think clearly. It gives you the chance to respond wisely instead of impulsively. Most arguments, misunderstandings, and missed opportunities happen because people are more focused on replying than understanding. But when you listen with presence and patience, your words, when you finally speak, carry more weight, more respect, and more precision. You become the person whose opinion is valued not because it's loud, but because it's thoughtful. Listening is also a form of learning. Every conversation, every situation, every challenge becomes a teacher. But only if you're quiet enough to let the lesson come through. Speaking less doesn't mean you don't have anything to say. It means you're smart enough to say it when it matters most. This applies in leadership, relationships, and personal growth. The more you listen, the more connected you become to your surroundings, and the more connected you are, the more effective your actions become. Silence sharpens your awareness. It builds your presence. And over time, it builds your reputation as someone who doesn't speak to impress, but speaks to impact. When you master the art of listening, you unlock a new level of power, and in that power, everything starts to align and come to you more naturally. There comes a moment in your journey where you must learn to let go of control and trust the process. You've done the work. You've stayed disciplined. You've prepared, improved, and positioned yourself. Now, it's time to release the need to force outcomes. This is where real confidence begins, not in trying to control every result, but in knowing that what you've planted will grow when the time is right. Many people burn out not because they lack effort, but because they never stop pushing. They don't know how to step back and allow things to unfold. They confuse force with progress, but some things in life don't respond to force. They respond to alignment, timing, and flow. When you trust the process, you free yourself from the constant pressure of trying to make things happen. You focus on what you can control, your mindset, your habits, your energy, and release the rest. You stop chasing and you start attracting. This doesn't mean you stop working. It means your work comes from a place of trust, not desperation. You know that what is meant for you won't miss you. You begin to notice opportunities coming to you, people showing up, situations opening, not because you forced them, but because you became the kind of person who naturally draws them in. Life moves smoother when you're not resisting it. And when you align your effort with belief, your results begin to flow. Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's recognizing that after preparation comes patience. After discipline comes trust. And when you live with that balance, you experience less stress and more clarity. Everything you need starts arriving, not all at once, but in perfect timing. And you'll realize that when you finally let go of control, everything began to come naturally.